because we don't want to run out of too much time before we get to the USA-Jamaica game, but it was definitely the best performance so far. Do you think, there were a lot of people talking that, Bob Bradley's job was on the line if we didn't win this game today. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think that I think it was a bold move for Bob to not start Landon.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that was an eye-opener for the guys who were starting, and I think they stepped up and performed. Mm-hmm. Dempsey was excellent. Disappointing to lose Altidore, but Agudelo came in and was very effective. Mm-hmm. Jones was solid today. I thought we were pretty good in the back. The Jamaicans have a really fast team, but that's the biggest job in soccer in this country, to coach the U.S. national team. So it's always going to be under pressure. Mm-hmm. We're at a point now we want to dominate our region, and when we're not dominating our region, then there's going to be criticism, and I think that's where the game is at this point, and what people around the world think about U.S. soccer. So we have high expectations, and I think we need to keep those high expectations.
Yeah, I'd agree. And then, for me at least, because I've criticized the team pretty much whenever they try to use a different formation, but today they went with a 4-2-3-1 at the beginning, which seemed to really work because Dempsey was coming back to receive the ball from Jones and from Bradley, and for the first time, it seemed to make sense. Now, of course, on defense, they still went back to what I thought it looked like a 4-4-1-1. But I thought in general, the 4-2-3-1 for the first time really seemed to make sense with Dempsey, Kleshton, and Bedoya sort of cycling around a lot of the times. And Kleshton sometimes was further up the field, and sometimes he was out wide. It looked like we were being creative for the first time without Donovan on the field.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think Bedoya had some creativity. I think Kleshton had a solid game. I really think when Michael Bradley is collecting balls and hitting passes, splitting passes that are putting players out of the game, that really helps us.
Yeah.
Because, when he's playing square balls and playing balls from side to side, I think it's a little bit predictable. But today he was excellent on his splitting passes. And, when he's on, he's one of the key players for our team. And I think that helps our attacking guys get at players. And then you have the creativity of, Donovan when he's out there, when Dempsey's there. Dempsey's just, he plays in the box. He can finish with both feet. He has really everything.
Yeah.
And he performed today. And I think, he's interviewed at halftime, and he said the right things, and the team came out and finished their chances.
Could you even, tell what formation we were playing at some points? Because although Dempsey sometimes came back to pick up the ball deeper in the field to move forward, sometimes it was Kleshton. And it only seemed like Bedoya, for the most part, consistently stayed out wide or wider. I couldn't figure out what was going on, because it was one time we came down the field it was one thing, and the next time we came down the field it was another. I thought, for the first time watching us play a different formation other than the 4-4-2 or the 4-4-1-1, we looked very creative, and we weren't locked into, we weren't confused by the 4-2-3-1.
Yeah, and I think that's an issue a little bit with players. Sometimes they get stuck into formations, and what are we playing, and this is my role in a certain formation. And obviously you're going to have Bradley, as we have here. We have Alonso, who's always central. He's always the holding guy. Mm-hmm. But, some of the best teams that I played on, the Miami Fusion, the Kansas City Wizards when we won it, mm-hmm. We had kind of a cockeyed formation, and it was at times very hard to see. Guys were interchanging. If you have a Preki on the field, then you have to just make adjustments, and he has a free role. And I think a little bit today we showed that, just like you said. Mm-hmm. And it's much harder for teams to defend when you're unpredictable and your movement is good. And as long as you're all getting into proper positions when you lose the ball,
yep,
then you're okay.
Right. And that's exactly what happened, because you could see whenever we lost possession, we immediately fell back to look like a pretty regular 4-4-2. Either it would be Dempsey going out to the wing, or sometimes it was Kleshin to support that whole situation. But usually it was Kleshin and Agudelo later. They stayed regularly on top, and then you had a 4 and a 4 in the back. So the formation looked sensible, at least if you're an American fan. That's what you're used to looking at when you're looking at our defense. But, a lot of people made a big deal about Landon Donovan not starting. But personally, I really wasn't worried about it because Landon looked a little fatigued. Were you concerned at all about him not starting this game?
No, I wasn't concerned. It's hard to say because we're not at training every day. It could have been that Question and Bedoya were training excellent, and they were clicking together in certain combinations that the coaches see that, us as fans, we don't see every day. So without being in the team, I think, it was still a big move. Landon Donovan tired many times is better than someone else at 100%. He's just such a good player and has great speed and just thinks the game.
Yeah.
He's one of the best players that I played with in this country at different times with the national team.
Right.
But I think that's what I meant by Bob, making that decision to do it. With him being fatigued, he still made the decision to keep him out and bring him off the bench. And Landon's a good pro, and he, I'm sure he was whatever's best for the team he was going to do. And, maybe now he has more energy for the semifinals and can help push us through. But I think it's something that things like that, if coaches make decisions like that, can bring a team together.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it was probably a good move for Bob.
Yeah. And, when Landon came on, he looked great. So we had a bunch of breakout plays that could have led to goals. Granted, Jamaica, we're down to 10 players. But, all right, we're down to our last minute or so. So I wanted to ask you this about Tim Ream, because there were people who said, don't throw Tim Ream out there to the Wolves just yet. Don't give him a starting spot. Let's be conservative. I think Brian Dunseth told me that when he was with us on the show. But okay, so the kid got yanked after some rookie performances. I mean, you had to think that was going to happen. But is it safe to say, knowing maybe what you do about Tim and what others do, that he's going to bounce back and this is just kind of a step in the process? Or did we kind of, as some people said, we've thrown him to the Wolves and now, if he can come back, it'll be a miracle?
No, he played in the Gold Cup, so it isn't like he's stepping into the World Cup.
Yeah.
I think he's for sure he's going to have a long career, and you can tell he's a cerebral player, and he reads the game very well, and he's lucky enough to play next to Marquez every week.
Yeah.
So he's going to pick up a lot, and I think that really helps his game. I think our national team is better when Bocanegra's at center back, in my opinion.
Me too.
So I think that was a good move. But Tim's going to have a long career. He's a quality player. Hans Baca has said over and over that he's a good young center back, and Baca has great experience and respect. He's respected around the world. But yeah, I think he's a young player, and with young players in their 20s, there's some inconsistency, and I had that as a player, and you get to the point in your late 20s and early 30s where you know what you can do, and you know what you offer to a team, and you're much more composed, and he'll play into that.
Yeah. Well, all right. Final. Let's do a final predictions here. Although these are always kind of a pain in the ass to deal with, but we've got Panama and El Salvador playing now as we speak. But where do you see the United States ending up here? Is this going to be another USA-Mexico final? And how do you see that playing out?
Yeah, that's my hope. My hope is to see the U.S.-Mexico in the final in L.A. And, in 90 minutes of soccer, if you watch the tournament so far, Mexico's been the stronger team. They've had more weapons, more attacking weapons. They played some really good soccer, and the Mexican fans, I think the way the Mexican team plays feeds the fans, and the fans feed the team. But like I said, if they meet in the one-game final, I think in the last 12 years, the U.S. has the edge. But in the Gold Cup, I think Mexico has five Gold Cup wins, and we have 4. So
Yeah.
that's motivation for our guys to even to be the champion of Gold Cup. I got to root for our country and our team. I think if our players play like today, and with the energy and atmosphere in that game, I think they can do fine, and they can find a way to win.
Yeah.
We got to make sure we stay healthy in the semis.
Let's hope so. I mean, and you can't underestimate the importance of staying healthy. But Chris, thanks for coming on and spending so much time with us today, going over this whole Gold Cup situation, and hopefully you'll be back with us. But until next time, have a happy Father's Day.
Yeah, thanks. Happy Father's Day. Thanks for having me.
All right. Take care, Chris.